Have you ever experienced that moment where time simply stops? Where everything around you freezes and you realize your life will never be the same? That's exactly what happened to me at my sister's wedding. A day that should have been pure joy turned into the day my world collapsed. This is my story, and if you've ever been through betrayal or know someone who has, you'll understand every second of what I'm about to tell you. It was a Saturday in June. The sky was perfect, that kind of blue that looks like it's from a movie. My sister, Laura, was radiant. After 5 years of dating, she was finally marrying the love of her life. I was so happy for her. You know that genuine joy? That's what I felt. My husband, Daniel, and I had been married for 3 years. Solid relationship, or at least that's what I thought. He was always attentive, caring, or maybe I just chose to see that. That day, I was busy. Maid of honor has 1,000 responsibilities, right? Running around with flowers, adjusting the bride's dress, calming nerves, taking photos. And Daniel? He was helping with the guests. That's what he told me. The ceremony was beautiful. Tears flowed. Promises were made. Love was in the air. At the reception, the party was lively. Music, dancing, laughter, everything perfect. I had gone out to get the bridal bouquet from the car. A quick errand. When I came back to the hall, I passed through the back corridor, and that's where I saw it. My sister was leaning against the wall, and Daniel had his hand on hers. It wasn't a casual, it wasn't a greeting. His fingers were caressing hers. Slowly, intimately. And the look, my God, the look between them. I froze, literally froze. My legs wouldn't move. My heart seemed to have stopped beating. How long did I stand there? I don't know. It could have been 5 seconds, could have been a minute, but it felt like an eternity. When they saw me, the reaction was instantaneous. My sister pulled her hand away. Daniel took a step back, and in both their eyes, pure panic. But not innocence. Never innocence. The next few hours were a blur. I smiled, hugged people, took photos, made my maid of honor speech. On the outside, I was the perfect sister, celebrating the perfect day. On the inside, I was crumbling. When we got home that night, I confronted Daniel. What was that? He tried to minimize it. It was just a moment. She was nervous. I was comforting her. Lies, all lies. It took 3 days of constant pressure until he confessed. 6 months. They'd been together for 6 months. While I was planning my sister's wedding, while I was sewing her dress, while I was organizing the bridal shower, they were having an affair. My sister, my husband, the 2 people I trusted most in the world. I'll be honest with you. When he finally confessed everything, I didn't cry right away. I think I was in shock. You know when reality is so absurd that your brain simply refuses to process it? That was it. I just sat there, on the couch in our living room, looking at this man who swore to love me, respect me, protect me. And all I could think was, who are you? Because the man I loved would never do this. He tried to explain, said he didn't plan it, that it happened, that he was weak. Weak. As if being weak meant sleeping with your wife's sister for 6 months. As if being weak meant looking into my eyes every day and lying. As if being weak meant watching me organize her wedding, excited, happy, and continuing the charade. And my sister? Oh, my sister was worse, because with Daniel, in a way, I could understand the cowardice of a man who didn't have the courage to end things before cheating. But Laura? Laura watched me grow up. We played together. We cried together. I held her hand when our father died. I was by her side at every important moment of her life, and she stabbed me in the back in the worst possible way. When I finally managed to talk to her a few days later, you know what she said? That she fell in love. As if that justified everything. As if love was an excuse to destroy a family. She even said she didn't want to hurt me, but that she couldn't control what she felt. couldn't control, as if feelings were something that just happens to you, without choice, without responsibility. As if she hadn't made a conscious choice every time she met with him, every time she lied to me, every time she hugged me, knowing what she was doing. The first few months were the worst. I moved to a small apartment. I couldn't stay in that house, in that neighbourhood, in that life. Everything reminded me of them. The bed where we slept, the kitchen where we had breakfast, the photos on the wall. I had to rebuild everything from scratch. My mother didn't know what to do. She was torn. On one hand, she was shocked and disappointed with Laura. On the other, she was still her daughter, still the newlywed. I don't blame my mother, but it hurts to know she still goes to Sunday lunches at Laura's house, that she still sees Daniel, that somehow life goes on for everyone except me. I lost friends too. Some sided with them. Others just distanced themselves because they didn't know how to deal with the situation. I discovered that betrayal doesn't just affect the couple, it affects the entire social circle. Suddenly, you become that person no one knows whether to invite to parties. Will she create a scene? Will she cry? Will she ruin the mood? Therapy saved me. Literally. There were days I didn't want to get out of bed. Days I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the person there. I had lost weight, deep dark circles, an empty look. The therapist taught me that grief isn't just for death. You can grieve for a relationship, for a family, for a version of yourself that doesn't exist anymore. And that's what I did. I cried. I screamed. I wrote letters I never sent. I burned photos. I donated everything that was his. I blocked them both on all social media. I cut off contact completely. People asked me if I didn't want to try to forgive, try to rebuild the family relationship. And you know what? No, I didn't want to. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. I might one day not feel this pain, this anger anymore, but that doesn't mean they deserve a place in my life. There was a defining moment. About 4 months after the discovery, I was at the supermarket, and there they were, Daniel and Laura, together, shopping like a normal couple. He was pushing the cart, she was choosing fruit, and they were laughing, laughing. My first instinct was to run away, hide. But you know what I did? I kept walking. I walked right past them. Laura saw me. She went pale. Daniel lowered his head. And me? I kept my head held high and moved forward, literally and metaphorically. Because it was in that moment I realized they may have taken a lot from me, but they didn't take my dignity. They didn't take my strength. They didn't take who I am. They made their choices, and I was making mine. I started doing things for myself. I went back to painting, something I loved but had abandoned. I signed up for a dance class. I travelled alone for the first time in my life. I went to Bahia, stayed at an inn facing the ocean, and for the first time in months, I breathed, really breathed. I met new people, made friends who had no connection to my past, people who met me as I am now, not as the betrayed wife, not as the abandoned sister, just me. And you know what I discovered? I'm amazing, even broken, even hurt. I'm strong, funny, intelligent, talented. I won't lie and say it's easy. There are still bad days. Days I wake up and the first thing I think about is that scene in the corridor. Days I wonder if I could have done something different, if I could have seen the signs. Because looking back, the signs were there. The phone he guarded more carefully, the extra work outings, the way Laura always asked about him, about us, about our marriage. But the truth is that even if I had seen them, nothing would change. Because betrayal isn't about the betrayed. It's about the betrayer. It's about the choices they made, about the values they don't have, about the character they lack. Today, 2 years later, I can say, I survived. More than that, I thrived. I found strength I didn't know I had. I rebuilt my life from scratch. I learned to trust again, first in myself, then in others. I met someone new, someone who treats me with the respect and love I always deserved, someone who proves every day that not everyone cheats, that not everyone lies, that not everyone will disappoint you. And you know what the best part is? I don't need them anymore. I don't need Daniel to feel loved. I don't need Laura to feel part of a family. I created my own family with friends who are true siblings, with people who choose me every day, with people who prove that loyalty isn't just a word. Laura tried to contact me a few times, messages apologising, saying she misses me, that she wants to rebuild our relationship. I never responded, because some bridges, once burned, shouldn't be rebuilt, not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of self-love, out of knowing that I deserve people in my life who respect me, who honour me, who would never put me in that position. Daniel also tried. Once he called from an unknown number, saying he made the biggest mistake of his life, that he loved me, that he wanted a second chance. I hung up, not because it still hurts, but because it simply doesn't matter anymore. He's irrelevant to my story now. A closed chapter, a lesson learned. If you're going through something similar right now, I want you to know, you're not alone. The pain is real. The anger is valid. The grief for the relationship you thought you had is legitimate. But on the other side of that pain, there's life. There's rebuilding. There's happiness again. You'll wake up one day and realize you didn't think about them. You'll laugh without guilt. You'll trust without fear. You'll love again, this time wiser, stronger, more aware of your own worth. And when that day comes, you'll look back and be grateful, not for them, but for yourself, for having the courage to move forward, for choosing yourself, for rebuilding your life stone by stone. Betrayal says much more about those who betray than about those who are betrayed. I did nothing wrong. I didn't deserve that. And you, if you've been through this, didn't deserve it either. Your worth never depended on them, never will. You are complete on your own. You are enough. You are stronger than you imagine. So if this story touched you in any way, do 3 things. First, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week I share real stories of overcoming and rebuilding. You're not alone on this journey. Second, leave your comment. Your story matters. Whether to vent or to give strength to someone, your voice needs to be heard. Third, share this video with someone who needs to hear this today. Someone going through betrayal, through a difficult breakup, or who simply needs to remember their own strength. And if you want deeper support, resources on how to deal with betrayal, divorce, and emotional rebuilding, I've left all the links in the video description. Remember, you are stronger than you imagine, and your best chapter is still to come. See you in the next video. And until then, be kind to yourself.